What's going on, y'all? Let's talk some more boxing. Um, as we all know, that the inaugural PBC, the fights that are broadcasted on national television, due to the lucrative, monumental deal brokered by Al Heyman and the network executives at NBC. Um, They will be showcasing talent on national television for um, the viewing audience, reaching a market that has not been tapped into yet. Possibly similar to the market that was there when the wide world of sports was broadcasting sports long time ago on the weekends, and back when boxing was on free television. Um, anyway, two of the fights that are taking place are the Adrian Broner versus John Molina, and you also have Keith Thurman versus Robert Guerrero. I think that is an excellent way to start off this monumental deal. Not only are you having fights being broadcasted on regular television, they both fights have significance. They are top-notch fighters with all within the same no, within divisions close to each other, 140 and 147. Now let me start with 140. We already know Adrian Broner. You know, you either like him or love him by now. Most people who hate him, they hate him not because of what he does in the ring. They probably admire his talent as well as just about everybody else. I mean, he does have his detractors, but you know, every fighter has their detractors in terms of their skill. But most people who dislike him because of the antics outside of the ring. You know, the burning money, um, trying to pursue a rap career when he's not. You know, when it seems that he's not taking his boxing career as serious. You know, he's out doing concerts, taking pictures with other celebs, looking drunk, holding Ace of Spade bottles, and just doing things that are not indicative of a professional prize fighter. What else? He was, doing videos, having hot tubs, naked in hot tubs with bras. Not saying that's a bad thing, but you know, the viewing public have a tendency to be turned off by guys who are a little bit too braggadocio, and that's been Adrian Broner his whole career thus far in the professional game of boxing. You know, saying that he can do whatever he wants in the sport, that he's different from everybody who's come before him, everybody who's preceded him, and it just kind of turned people off. Um, well, since then he's been humbled. The problem, as his moniker states, the problem was solved by a guy named Marcos Maidana. Now, he promises, I'm not saying that's the reason, maybe he just naturally, like a kid normally does as time goes by, maybe he's just matured. He says he's not going to do a lot of the things that he once did that turned people off. He said that was all part of self-promotion. I think that's a bunch of bullshit. But, if that's his way of doing damage control, to which we'll see a better version of Adrian Broner, then you know what, so be it. Everybody has a PR team. Not everybody comes in with that politically correct bullshit that you've seen from other fighters, which was nonsense, like Oscar. He was all politically correct, but he snort dope, fuck hookers, and took fisting ass. I mean, that's a little bit blunt. I don't really give a damn. You know how I do. I do it how I do it. But that's basically what Oscar was about, But inside the ring, he was an awful fool with them hands. Boy, he could scrap, He had a very good career. And anyway, he will be fighting a guy named John Molina. John Molina is not the most skilled guy in the world, but he's big for the weight. He's tall, he's rangy, he's tough, and he has a very good punch. John Molina, I never foresee him getting this far in boxing. I used to watch him on ESPN2, and I've seen him get waltz tossed on that channel. And a lot of times he was getting his ass beat in fights. He'd come back and win. Most recently, he had a fight against Mickey Bay, where he was getting beat pretty handily in the fight, and he came back and knocked Mickey Bay out uh, in the last round. Mickey Bay kind of got comfortable, had a false sense of security. He had Boss Man sitting ringside. And for those that don't know, his boss is Floyd Mayweather. Actually, they know each other. They're friends. They were in the amateurs together. But Floyd, is his boss, and he got a lot of guys under his roster. Mickey Bay was one of them, and he got knocked the fuck out trying to impress Boss Man, looking outside the ring, kind of signaling that yeah, I got this under control. All it takes is a second to take your mind off of the guy that's standing across the ring from you, and boom, boom, fight over. Just that quick. It's the hurt business. There are no games between 1 and 12. You better come to do it, or maybe 1 and 10, depending on the fight. And also another fight where he was getting beat the hell out of, and he would come back and win by stoppage. The fight against Hank Lundy. Hank Lundy was beating him easily in the fight. And John Molina found a way to decode the puzzle, dial up the right combination, and land a big punch that had Hank Lundy on Queer Street. That was kind of a controversial win, but I don't remember how I analyzed that fight, but it didn't look so controversial when I went back and looked at it. I think John Molina earned that victory. Hank Lundy kind of took his foot off the gas, and then he ended up getting caught and getting clipped. And there was also fights like against Matisse. He gave Matisse probably one of the toughest fights of his career outside of Matisse Garcia, where he just got his ass beat. Molina, had Matisse on his heels, but in the end, he would end up losing that fight. And if you think about it, Molina lost a lot of damn fights. He's just a really tough guy. So, I'm thinking the theory here is that Molina, even though he represents a stiff challenge, he's pretty much made to order, as he's not going to run. And Adrian Broner, even though he can box, even though some people say he can't, I've seen him in person, ringside, watching him come up through the ranks, and I'm saying yes, he can. He just doesn't box anymore. He doesn't get on his toes and utilize the ring as he did before he was even on television. Like once he started getting on television and getting known, he settled into his style to where he became a more flat-footed fighter, trying to fight like Floyd. And we already seen how that has gone. He at this present time doesn't use the boxing. He doesn't use his boxing abilities. He does not utilize the ring. He's been knocking guys out, and boxer punchers typically fall in love with their power. One of the biggest mistakes a boxer puncher makes, I've said this hundreds of times, if you ever follow me, one of the biggest mistakes a boxer puncher makes is that he will abandon his skills looking for one punch power. They fall in love with the punching power instead of setting up the punch and letting the knockout come. Now, granted, they say that on camera, oh yeah, I'll just let the knockout come if it presents itself. But in the ring, you start seeing them throwing one punch at a time and kind of admiring the work, and that lets you know that they're making the mistake right then and there. They're looking for one punch power instead of possibly going in behind the jab, setting up the big punch, or going to the body, hitting a guy with some good body shots and then faking to the body so a guy flinched down and hitting him with a shot upstairs. You know what I'm saying? Setting up the power. They don't do that. They go in there throwing one punch at a time. That's when you know that they're falling in love with their punch power, because they know they can get a guy hurt, and they start admiring their work when they land a good shot, trying to see if a guy's woozy or not. If a guy hurt, he gonna show you. He gonna give you a little dance in there. He gonna give you a little wobble. Something. Body language says a lot in boxing. Tells you everything you need to know when you're in the ring with an opponent. His body language will tell you a lot. So, anyway, the fight with Broner and Molina is a good fight. I think since Broner is charismatic and he knows how to sell himself, putting on a good display of boxing skills and possibly culminating into a brilliant knockout can help catapult him to a new level as far as star power or stardom. Boxing is one of those sports where you can sell the knockout. Just like in baseball, they fall in love with the home run. In boxing, you can sell the knockout to the general public who don't know boxing, but they do know knockouts. And I think that's the angle that they're going with here. in effort to bring more fans to the sport. You know, fans come to the sport very ignorant and they say a lot of stupid shit. But over time, if they are serious, they will get, you know, put in their place by guys who've been around forever, and they'll start to learn the sport, and then they'll try to get other fans into the sport. It's just the way that it goes. Um, but the thing about it is, Adrian's going to have to show a lot of maturity in this fight with Molina because, like I said, Molina does represent a stiff challenge. A guy with that type of punching ability is a dangerous fighter. At any point of the fight, he can land a shot and change the whole fight entirely. And if Adrian Broner is not on his A game and he's not taking his opponent seriously, you're going to see the same fate suffered by Mickey Bay suffered by Adrian Broner. Um, Adrian Broner has shown he can take a shot. He's taken a much bigger shot from a bigger man at a larger weight division. So me saying, oh, he's gonna get knocked out is kind of premature. I mean, he's shown he can take big shots. He's shown he can go down, get back up, and keep fighting. And that won him some fans. It showed that he actually has heart. He's not just all lip service. So, but still and so, punches hurt. This is the fight game, and Molina has shown he can hurt guys. And Adrian Broner is not immune. Everybody can be hurt if proper timing and proper punch placement. A guy's gonna be hurt. So, but in that fight, I think Adrian Broner will get back to the fundamentals, leading behind the jab, using that good defense that he has. It's not as good as Mayweather, but it's better than most, and that's pretty much all you need in terms of defending yourself. You don't have to have Mayweather's defense. You can have Winky Rice's defense, and that still will suffice. Now, I'm not saying Adrian Broner's defense is as good as either one of those guys, but it's better than most. And we know offensively he's pretty damn sound. So this is a fight that's winnable, and I think he will if he sticks to the game plan. At times he's been hurt in a fight, and he started ignoring the advice given to him by Mike Stafford in the corner. That's not what an elite fighter does. Your corner's there for a reason. You got to trust the eyes outside of the ring while you trust your own eyes inside the ring. There's certain things you see when you're right in front of your opponent that your corner probably missed while he's analyzing the fight from the outside. But it's also things that your corner sees from the outside that you just can't see while you're in the ring. That's why it's a team effort. You got to listen to your corner. If you don't trust Mike Stafford, put somebody else there. He's there for a reason. Use him. But anyway, I think Broner can possibly win that fight by stoppage. If he probably not knock completely out, but I think he can cut him up real bad and probably win it on cuts. Stoppage, you know what I'm saying? But we'll see. You know, it's still a fight that Molina can win, and Molina is a good dude. I like to watch him fight, and good luck to the guy. The other fight is with Keith Thurman and Robert Guerrero. A lot of guys are high on Thurman. He says everything right. He's not politically correct, but he says everything right in terms of what boxing fans want to hear and the things that you want your fighter to say in the field. He is a fighter. He wants to continuously test himself amongst the best. However, the best have not been given him his opportunity. And what more can he do but beat the guys that are placed in front of him? He's not a guy that goes to a negotiating table and brokers deals. He takes the fights that are presented to him and he goes in there and gets the job done. And as of late, it's been a pretty difficult task against some guys. Most guys he's been going in there blowing them right out. But against some guys, they've been, you know, putting up a really good account of themselves, and he's been having to dig and show what he's really made of. Because, and for a fighter that's young like Thurman, and it's a young puncher, he needs those type of fights. He needs to know that everybody that you hit are not just gonna lay down. You know, that there are guys like John Brown. I don't know if y'all remember John Brown back in lightweight days. You weren't gonna look good against John Brown. As far as I'm concerned, the only two people that looked good against John Brown in his career was Mosley and Corrales. Those were the only guys that looked good against John Brown. Everybody else, they looked bad against John Brown. You know, guys like Lovemore Endo. It was not easy to look good against Lovemore Endo. Ask Miguel Cotto. Go and Google that fight and tell me what you think about that fight. Cotto got touched in that fight with Lovemore Endo. He got touched. So, it's certain guys who the average fan looks at and be like, oh, he's not, there's not much there. He's nothing. He should be able to walk through them. It's not like that. Some fights you get in there with a guy who you don't think much of puts up a better account than a guy who you would think will go 12 rounds and give him a rough and tough fight. And that's the type of fight Thurman just got out of. And I think it's a learning experience for him moving forward. But in the fight with Guerrero, that's a stern test in itself. As one thing Guerrero has proven is that he's willing to get down or lay down. Now, granted, he's not a legit welter, but he's tall enough and he's been at the weight long enough to where he's actually settled into the weight. And he's also a southpaw. He's also a 3-division world champion, and he's a guy that has fought world-class opposition. He has way more experience than Thurman, way more championship experience, and he's not shot. He's still somewhat at the top of his game, yet he's trying to get back to the upper echelon, to the elite level, to the championship level of the sport, and a win over Thurman will give him those opportunities that he just once had, but basically had taken from him when he got his ass destroyed against Mayweather. But the good thing about Guerrero, like I said before, he's not shot. He's a good fighter. He can box. He can brawl. If he's on his game, this is going to be a difficult task for Thurman. Robert Guerrero has a good jab. He's lefty and he's crafty in there. He sees openings where other people may not see it there. And like I said before, he can make a fight fairly difficult to where if his boxing game is not working from the outside, he can close the distance and rough your ass up for the 12. And being of the fact that there's range to his game, I think this will be a good learning lesson, and it'll kind of gauge where exactly Keith Thurman is in his fight career. Like I said before, a lot of guys are high on Thurman. I have not been on that bandwagon. I'm not saying that it's bad if you're on the Thurman bandwagon. Like I said, Thurman says everything right. He's about everything you want in a fighter. He goes out and handles his business, and he wants to fight the best. He's calling out the best, but the best are not giving him his opportunity. How can you not like a guy like that? But for me, I don't see what everybody else sees. I see the power, I see the boxing ability, the charisma. He's made for television, no doubt. But to me, I think his game is Swiss cheese. I think he got holes in his game. You know what I'm saying? And I think a guy like Robert Guerrero can expose those vulnerabilities. And that's what I see happening in this fight. And this, to me, will be a fight to show me, particularly, not that he got to show me a damn thing, but this will show me in particular that Thurman is definitely the goods, because I will respect this victory over Robert Guerrero if he is successful, especially if he knocks him out, which hasn't been done. So, like I said, Robert Guerrero is a decent puncher also. He hasn't had knockouts at that weight, but he beat the dog shit out of Andre Berto. And Andre Berto never fought below 147 pounds. In fact, when Andre Berto came into the game, he was fighting at 160. So if Robert Guerrero can hurt Andre Berto, who's always campaigned at divisions higher than super lightweight, lightweight, featherweight, junior lightweight, all those weights that Robert Guerrero is fight at, and he's actually able to carry a little bit of that power to welterweight to where he can get some respect, then I think he has enough power to get respect from One Time. And One Time has been hurt in the ring more than one time. But he's weathered the storm, came back in some of those fights he's won with a beautiful knockout. But he can be hurt and he can be hit, and as long as he has those two intangible traits, there's a good chance that a guy who has a decent boxing IQ and respectable skills can actually get to that chin. And I think that's what's going to happen. I do think Thurman will have his moments, but I think once Robert Guerrero gets to him, I think it's just a matter of time before he takes him out. I don't see the fight going the distance, and I still don't think Thurman is going to win the fight. I'm predicting Guerrero by knockout. And I'm sure most of the buying public and most of the boxing public don't agree, but like I've said hundreds of times, my assessment does not require you to agree with me for me to make it. I trust my eyes. So, like, it's okay to disagree with me. I'm not going to hold it against you. I hope you don't hold what I say against hold it against me. I'm just a boxing fan like everybody else. But I think this is the fight Thurman gets clipped on national television. But if not, it can definitely get him to the next level in this game. But until then, I'm going to holler at y'all.